what I said is that from the beginning, it was a conceptually flawed idea. Competency is used for working people. It is when you're training workers to do a specific task. So it's a very short-term training, and it is training for a specific task. So the first thing I was saying is that why are we teaching it to our children? So from there, everything to me is whatever else we have seen in the system, all the problems start from there. The fact that the idea is flawed, because you see what happens once you don't do the work of conceptualizing what it is that you want, and you implement it anyway, and you refuse to answer our questions, then now all the problems we are seeing were inevitable. So I'm not surprised at all by what has happened. It was happening. I mean, I saw it from 2017, even before they implemented it, and they said we should not ask questions. We can't keep talking all the time. Let's just implement. But then I asked, what are you implementing then? And they didn't answer. So we are where we are.
So how can you say that it was flawed, conceptually flawed, Dr. Njoka?
I don't think there was any research done, and I'll tell you based on the evidence I have. First of all, when I looked for the documents, where did this thing come from? First thing I did, I looked at the curriculum framework, which was released by KICD. It's very uninformative, and in fact, I kept asking them, if you check my appearances on the media and my Twitter handle, I asked them, where did you get this idea from? Because the citations, the books you have cited, because I'm an academic, that's what I look at. The books you have cited do not talk about CBC or competency. So where did you get this thing from? Who came up with it, so that we can ask them the questions we have about why competency? We never got those answers. So I started digging. The next thing I found was a document which was on the UNESCO website, where it said that competency was given to the Kenya government in 2017. They had no funding. No, I think 2016. They had no funding. So the British Council promised to fund it in 2017. So in fact, actually, the decision was announced beginning 2017, and Matiang'i is the one who launched the pilot after elections of 2017. So that's the second thing I found. Apart from that, there's very little on competency, except that now later on, after digging a lot more, I found this article by an education scholar in Turkey who said that nobody knows where this idea of competency, especially at primary school, came from. But his suggestion is that it came from the business corporations. And what they did was there were several interests in having a competency curriculum. One, of course, was technology. If you technologize the education system, it means the tech companies get business. So the idea of competency started with the tech companies. They funded journals even to publish in favor of competency, but it was never something that was being talked about within academic circles. So they sponsor these journals, and then they now start also putting pressure on global bodies like OECD, UNESCO. And in fact, in 2016, there was a letter from a number of academics from the US. They wrote an open letter complaining about the pressure that these corporations were putting on the education system in the US. And the system is very similar to what we are calling CBC here. So there's a whole field, in fact, that I discovered of what is called, I think it's called global education policy, about policy travel, about how policies are made in the US, and then the corporations start, pushing global continental bodies to impose them. So they tried Europe. It didn't quite work because Europe's education is decentralized. So in every area, the teachers would say, no, this doesn't make sense. They tried the US with the Common Core. It's not doing very well. So Africa is on the last leg of this idea, but we are the ones who are implementing it with more fujo than all the other
You have
continents.
more vigor than everybody else.
Yeah. I'm not convinced that KICD did the research, and that's why they couldn't answer our questions.